okay, so my thinking is I'm becoming less of a feminist traditional in the sense of like I see the gender divides being very useful now. In effect, like I stay home most of the time with my children. The husband goes out and earns a living.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be dreading that dynamic because I thought, oh, I'm going to be so jealous and resentful of my husband because I want to go out and work. I want to make the career happen. Da, da, da. And actually, I'm finding it's the opposite where I'm like, I feel so bad for him that he has to go. I baked cookies this morning. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So are those gender roles necessarily bad? But see, it's tough because you have to do both. You're both mother and primary breadwinner. How is that? How does that play out? What is your life like? My goodness.
So I am not the stay-at-home mom. I am the breadwinner, and I am very comfortable with that. I'm very traditional in so many ways, and I like being the quote-unquote. This might sound bad to people, but I don't care. Like
no one
like
cares
one of
who's
those,
listening to
right?
this.
I don't give a shit what anyone thinks anyway. I like being the quote unquote like male in the relationship. I love being a provider. It makes me very happy to go out and work and make money and bring money home to the family. Like I always felt comfortable in that role. I always wanted that. I never saw myself as a stay-at-home mom ever, ever. Even as a child, I was never like, I'm gonna be a mom and stay home and have children. You know, I never for 1 second saw myself in that role ever.
Yeah.
So this has always been what I wanted. I've just loved being a provider.
But that's your contribution to the whole thing is like, I'm going to bring the resources back home. And then my wife deals with the day-to-dayness.
Yeah. And I love, I'm incredibly generous that way. Like I want to just make more and more and more and provide for my children and give them a life where they never have to worry. And that's just who I am and what I want. And I always just want to achieve more and create more. And I'm also, and I think you'll relate to this, I'm like a gypsy. I never, my parents got separated and divorced when I was 13 and I lived in both houses. And I was a bad age.
13 is like ground zero for drama already.
Right.
Without that.
So I lived out of a bag. So I always lived out of a bag.
That too.
Right.
Sames.
I knew you would understand that. So I live out of a bag now. I always have a suitcase, as you're going to understand, next to the bed. Mm-hmm. And it's just comfortable for me. So I would, if I had to be home, I would not be okay. It would not be okay. I'd end up in a hospital. So I'm very comfortable being on the road. And it's just, this is familiar and comfortable for me.
That's so true.
Yeah.
See, because I very much have that same Rolling Stone. Like I don't find bouncing around, but I also not fine because it fucks with me. Mm-hmm. And but also staying home with children is so boring.
It's horrible.
It's so horrible. And I'm so lucky that I can come here and do a podcast and get away for a few hours and then go back.
But you're also on the road.
I do.
So you're not like
not as much, but I take them with me now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm an asshole.
That's
crazy.
A lot.
I know.
It's a lot.
But what isn't a lot?
You're right. But that must be tough to get on stage after being with them all day. I'm
not with them all day. I bring my nanny, so she's with them.
Oh, so you bring them with you and then you're not with them at all and then you go on stage. That's good.
No, I'm still with them.
I'm joking.
God. But that's interesting. Okay, so you took a traditional...
I'm incredibly traditional.
You did the traditional gender role.
Yeah,
thing.
I am.
See, and I'd like to talk to women or people, whatever, out there. Like, are you what do you guys do? How do you guys devise labor? Devise? Is that how I would say that? Devise labor?
I don't know.
I feel like when I used to go to college and read a lot, I feel like I knew how to talk. And then,
how do you guys still age?
Yeah, I haven't
delegate.
Delegate. Yeah, I haven't read books and fucking. I've been in my book club. We read about husband murder. That's it. I don't read about anything intelligent. Divide labor in your house. I'm curious to know how many people do a traditional gender role. So even with two women, one of you stays home primarily and one of you goes out and brings home the bacon.
Some people don't do that in lesbian relationships. I mean, my dad was very much like that. He my stepmother didn't work, and my dad worked and traveled and came home and dinner was ready. And
wow,
I know.
So much work. It is so hard for a woman to do.
Right. Now, my mom always worked. My mom still works at her age. She's still a therapist and still sees clients. It's just now, and it's Danielle works. She sees clients.
But did your mother work? So this is what I'm saying. My mother worked as well, but my parents were split, and so they both had to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, like, in homes that are intact, like mommy, daddy, does mom go as hard at work as dad does? Because I just don't. I don't know, because I can't go as hard, and I don't go as hard because I want to raise the kids.
This was my thing. When I was growing up, my mom worked a lot. My mother was a therapist, and she spent a lot of time seeing clients, and I was neglected a lot, and it's not her. She had to work a lot, and she wanted to work a lot, and I felt neglected a lot, and it affected me in my life. Excuse me. And one of my things was with both women that I had children with. I won't have children unless someone is home with them. Yeah. And in my career, I'm not going to be home a lot. So if that doesn't work for you, I'm not agreeing to have children. I made that very clear because I did not want to bring up kids where a primary mother was not home a lot. Yeah. It was very important to me because it affected me a lot to not have a mom around. And to this day, at times, it affects me a lot.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to. I was brought up by a housekeeper and a nanny, and it was not. It's hard. It's still hard in some ways. So both women that I've had children with wanted to be home.
At least you had a housekeeper and a nanny. I was brought up by Different Strokes and Alice and the Beverly Hills Teens.
I was brought up by that too. And I was home. I was home at night. I was home alone.
Yeah, me too. A lot.
So during the day there was someone there after school, but then once dinner time, I was alone, and I was alone a lot.
Was your mom working at night?
My mom was very involved. She either had clients or she was out a lot. She was involved with something called EST, which was, Werner Erhard. She worked a lot for free for these seminars. So she would leave, and I was home alone a lot. So I had to find dinner and find stuff. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was very tough. So I was like, listen, if you want kids, that's great, but I'm not going to be home a lot because I do stand up, and this is just the truth, and I travel. So someone has got to be home with these kids because I'm not going to do it. I'm not, I can't watch how I grew up.
Me neither.
And they both were like, I want to be home with the kids. That's all I want in life, is to be home with my children and bring up. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Great. I mean, I will be home sometimes, but realistically, my career is going to keep getting better and getting, I'm going to be out more and I'll help. But,
See, because I feel like I was sold a lie as a younger woman with feminism. I was hardcore in college. I was the philosophy major. I was like, yeah, it's a social construct, man. Gender isn't real. It's bullshit. Because I'm like a badass woman. I do everything. And then you're like, well, no, that's not even practically. That's not possible. Like I can, without children, you can do everything.
Yes.
But then once you've committed to these lives, it's like, well, who's going to raise them, guys? Like who? So I don't know. I guess it's where I'm at in my life, where I'm like, I've surrendered to this and I like this. I don't know.
If you're like that, if you're a woman,
I'm drawn to my children. I'm so drawn that I can't fathom.
If you're a woman and a mother who feels that way, because there's a lot of women and mothers who don't feel that.
Have that, yep.
And do have other people bring up a lot. Have other people bring up their kids.
So I'd like to talk to those ladies. Tell me. So I'm curious, if you're out there, how does that work? How do you feel about that? Do you have any issues? Or there guilt? What are the issues? Because there's good and bad to every decision you make. Yeah, I'm home with them all the time, and I'm fucking crazy. It gets depressing. It gets boring. It gets mundane as fuck, and it's hard. So, but then you make your choices and you live with consequence.
Yeah, I don't think my mom really felt that draw to be home with her kids all the time, and that I feel this, pull to my kids and I want to be home with them. She was a very young mom and she didn't want to be home with her kids all the time. And I'm not angry at her. I get it, but it wasn't great. Wasn't great because I didn't have that mom around.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think, different in my case because I had children like at 40.
It's very
I'm
different.
Fucking old and
very different.
I've already like traveled. I've done a lot in my life. So the point of, I've lived a life. So when you're 20 and you have children, I get it. You don't want to be home. You want to be out in the world, J&Ds and doing whatever the fuck it is 20-year-old girls do, not burping babies and cleaning assholes. Did you like that highlight? I mean, how much fun was that? Why don't you watch a bunch more? We made a bunch more for you to watch. And then why don't you subscribe to my show? Subscribe to Where My Mom's At. That way, every time I drop an episode, you just get it. You don't have to think about it. And then hit the notification bell so you can get notified of all the great stuff that I make. Watch other highlight. Treat yourself. Get your life right.